Breaking the Code with Gabriella tells the story of a young girl who overcomes gender stereotypes in robotics, cementing herself as a role model for young women. The book includes science and engineering information, such as the design process and Java tutorials. As part of our initiative to empower young girls to pursue their interests in STEM, we're running the Breaking the Code with Gabriella Trailblazers in STEM speaker series, which explores the careers of women in science, technology, engineering, and math. The series aims to dispel gender stereotypes and help young girls get advice on how to pursue their own passions. And with that, today we're here with Shreya Srivathsan, who's a student at the University of Michigan from Dallas, who's studying political science and interdisciplinary astronomy with a potential minor in public policy. She's an active member of the Michigan debate team, the outreach chair for the Student Astronomical Society, and the policy lead for the Space Generation Advisory Council. Shreya is also a Running Start Congressional Fellow and enjoys serving her community as an election inspector. She is driven by her passion for political correspondence, campaign strategizing, and the intersection of space law and policy with intellectual property. So now, could you give a brief introduction about yourself, anything you'd like to add, anything about your journey in STEM, your future goals, or current interests that you think are notable?
Yeah, well, that was a great introduction. Thank you so much for having me. And I think when it comes to my journey in STEM, I struggled a lot, mainly because I never really felt connected to any aspect of like the STEM industry. I remember my dad like forced me to take these like STEM classes throughout middle school, and I revolted them. And I tried to like not use the word hate, but I genuinely struggled, and it was a brutal time because I never felt connected to any of the projects I was working on, it kind of just felt like really random, and even like the people I would work with, it never clicked for me. And just to backtrack a little bit and like talk about like math and its struggles, like I kind of always knew that I wanted to go the law route, and I was like, okay, well, and it's never going to connect. Like, it's fine. I don't have to do like math heavy things. Like, I can just avoid this. It'll be great. I'm just going to stick to my like policy and like law, like initiatives and go down this route, right? But then I never really like saw that it would ever connect in the future, and that's something that I'm hoping to encourage more, especially like young women to look into, especially like ways that they're looking at their own passions and how they can bridge those passions with the like the tech or whatever like unique STEM related projects that you're working on. And I think that's very important too, because it shapes you as an individual, and it also challenges the status quo of like whatever like problem or initiative you're working on. So yeah, I always disliked being a STEM student, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I never thought I would do or even like think of pursue anything related to it. Not, don't get me wrong, like I've always respected people who were able to program and code and everything, like do all the very difficult looking and intimidating, challenging things, but it was always something that I was definitely intimidated by. And now I'm taking Calc classes, and now I'm learning how to use like JavaScript and Python. And so it connects whether you like it or not. And it's definitely like a journey of figuring out how to like connect your passions. Like it's just, I'm gonna keep repeating this at this interview because I feel like that's genuinely the gist of it. Find something you're passionate about. And if that's something STEM related, that's great. But find something that truly gives you like a sense of purpose and try to bridge that and really step out of your comfort zone with whatever you're learning. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel that because it seems really intimidating at the beginning, all the science subjects, like physics, like,
For sure, yeah. No,
um,
I'm not even joking. Like I avoided like all of my like I tried to avoid all my math classes as much as possible in high school. Like I think the main focus for me was like it was stats. I was so like revolted by the idea of having to, I think I took algebra 2 and then I immediately jumped to like AP stats as I could not do calculus for the life of me. So, yeah,
yeah, I think for STEM, there's definitely a big barrier, or at least even like a mental challenge there,
for sure.
for people getting into that. So kind of building on that, What made you, is there like a specific moment that made you want to pursue such a unique combination of, policy and STEM? Or is there like, what was like the driving factor behind that?
Yeah, great question. So in high school, I took this independent study program course, and it's called PCIS. But I took that in high school, and I took it for 2 years, but it's like meant to be kind of like a 1 year program. So you get to learn about like professionalism, you get to work on a year-long project, and you also get to shadow a mentor within your field. And so being surrounded by like my classmates who are also very much driven and very I guess had like unique, career interests. And I think I was talking to a couple of like my engineering interested friends. They were like very passionate about engineering. They wanted to do something related to that. And I was just brainstorming like, wait, like I feel like there's, some unique areas of law I need to explore. And so that kind of prompted me to look into that some more. And I came across like intellectual property law, which is very much like you need to have like a STEM background for that. And you like there's also outer space law, right? And so I was just looking into these unique areas of law, and I struggle to find a mentor for myself because I'm like, I don't know anyone who's doing outer space law. Like, where am I gonna find this mentor? Because you need to have a mentor for that program. And how am I going to make a project? Like, I don't know any of this. So it felt like I was just drawn to it. And I don't know how to explain it, but like I would just obsess about it. Like I came back home and I was telling my dad, like, oh my gosh, like this is it for me. Like I love this topic. You need to look into it. And my dad and I are really close. So immediately he was like, what in the world are you talking about? Like, what is outer space law? And I feel like everyone I talk to now about this reacts the same way. And it's very silly at first, but the more you look into it, the more you learn, and it connects to literally every single industry you could possibly think of. And it's beautiful. Like I could go on about that. But I think so. Just to go back to where I was, because I do ramble a lot. The challenge was finding a mentor, right? And I was just cold calling and emailing a bunch of people asking, do you have any connections? I need to learn more about this. And I ended up reaching out to like the general counsel for like I think it was NASA. And it was a big deal because I'm sitting with this general counsel who is like basically really high up in the legal field. And he and I had a very engaging conversation, and like I was just sharing like this is what I've researched into, and talking to people and really thoroughly having like those conversations and sharing what I'm learning really helped. And I had a really supportive like I guess community to rely on, and I was really privileged to have that and I still am. So I think that definitely helped. And I don't think there was a specific moment, but that like conversation that I had with that individual really, really helped me. And having mentors and having people I can reach out to, and people I can bounce ideas off of, whatever that idea may be, right? It could be like a school related project, or maybe even something I'm working on my own. But having a community was like really important, and I was able to find that through that course. But even now I'm able to like be in touch with those people still, and it's really good looking back and saying, oh my gosh, I found this, like I found my thing, it through this course. And I would recommend for like everyone who's watching this, and anyone who's interested in like not just outer space law, but like literally anything STEM related, anything that's unique in its own way. Talk to people about your ideas, talk to people about like your initiatives, your passions, no matter how silly that you think they are or people think it is. Just have conversations about it.
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing is like having the class in school and having a mentor that guides you through the process. Not even just like me personally, when I was in elementary school, that's how I got into robotics actually. I had a really supportive and amazing mentor, and she was kind of my inspiration growing up. And that's one of the reasons I'm still so interested in it. So I think really just building on that, having a good mentor system, like someone we really look up to is really important, especially for, minorities or like girls who might, otherwise feel excluded.
Yeah, for
So
sure. I mean, that goes to say, even with like the math aspect, I never had a good math teacher. So that explains everything. But I'm kidding. I love my math teachers. They were awesome. They tried their best, but here we are. So
Yeah, I think definitely having someone older that you, or even,
Mhm,
just a little older that you look up to is super important and can really make the difference in what you pursue.
for sure.
So kind of building off that, I know you mentioned outer space law, and that sounds super interesting. Could you talk a little bit more about what you've done with it, what it is exactly? Because, you know, I have the same reaction when I first saw that you were interested in it. I was like, oh, I've never heard of that. Sounds super interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to know more about that and how you can get involved with that.
Sure, yeah. Well, to start off, I do get that reaction like literally like every time I bring it up with anyone. It's always funny because I have these like bullet points that go down, right? So it's just mainly, okay, well, outer space law, what is it? Starting off there, it's mainly anything and everything that has to do with basically involving itself in like outer space, right? It could be like the government, take NASA for example. I already brought them up. So NASA, the ESA, how they interact with um anything really in outer space. It could be like there's so many different sectors too. So we're looking at reconnaissance satellites, defense systems. If you look at just satellites in general, like GPS systems, a lot of that has to do with like we as a society rely a lot on it, and people don't realize that, but like it connects to agriculture. So like almost every aspect of outer space laws and just understanding like the legal framework of so many of these things, they connect back to nearly every industry, as I brought up earlier. But like to go into specifics rather than just bringing up layman's terms, I guess there's um you can look into like the outer space treaty. So I don't know if you heard of that before at all, or
I
um
don't think so.
okay, no worries. Yeah. So it's just looking into, because like what space law is basically international relations, but you're taking it up into space, literally. Um, that's the best way I can explain it. But you have the Outer Space Treaty, you have there's so many different types of like the rescue agreement. You'll hear researchers bring this up. And they'll refer to it a lot, and there's like the registration convention, liability convention, there's so many different aspects to it. So just to break it down, and actually hold on, this book is like the Bible for outer space law. It's literally called Space Law, a Treaty's second edition, and it's so good. Highly recommend for anyone who's interested in it. And it dives into like so many aspects, like I brought up earlier, about just bringing up like space objects, for example. Like how there's like mining. How are all these things interconnected? How do people like how are they allowed to mine asteroids? Like what are the legal frameworks and the laws that go behind that permit that from happening, right? And there's also, I think, the one of the most controversial aspects that I'm personally researching into and trying to understand better is how the private sector gets involved in all of this, right? We have a lot of startups. We have a lot of space startups specifically, and they have a lot of research that they want to do. Now there's a lot of agreements that are brought up that just basically, spewed at you. But these agreements basically say that you can't necessarily like harm like other like celestial like planetary objects, and you have to do what's best for everyone and like the common man, right? And so to protect those initiatives, there's a lot of debate over whether privatization of space is good, how it should be handled legally, and how people should go about maintaining those like legal frameworks and laws, and whether they need to update them or not. So there's a lot of conversations and debate on that. And there's even like things on like space hotels, like that's a thing, right? I don't know if you saw anything or like you've heard of like Elon Musk strapping his Tesla to like literally like a rocket to go to space. Like that happened. Um so yeah, like space law deals with all of that. And I think it poses many like challenges and unique questions, and I think that's exactly why I'm so fascinated by it. And it's also relatively novel because it kind of got its kickstart with like the Cold War. um Definitely read up on the history on that. It's very cool, very interesting. And since then it's kind of become this like very rapid changing field, and I think it's always going to be evolving that way. And to be a part of like something that is so rapid again, and constantly changing and constantly evolving, and there's so many aspects to this one field that is already so niche is very cool to me. And yeah, I'm planning to make a career out of it. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm very passionate about this, and I think people can get ahead and try to learn about the history of it to start off of, and also maybe even talk to people about it, because there's a lot of like organizations and a lot of like companies that are working towards understanding this better. Definitely talk to like some of the leading experts in the field, because they're very approachable. I know with like Space Generation, just I'm gonna bring that up later, but Space Generation is a great organization that I'm a part of, and they do a lot of research, and there's a lot of um really advanced folks there that are up to amazing things with their own research. And the best part is like they're pretty well established in their field, or they're like early career, so they're kind of older than me, which is really nice, because I can like ask them questions like, hey, well, how do I do this? What does this mean? And it's been really helpful, because I've been looking into this field since like my sophomore year of high school, and that it's been a while. I mean, it's not been that long, but it's been a while. So to research into this and to understand such heavy legal concepts has been really challenging, and it's held me back so many times. But it's definitely something that has, I guess, been very like rewarding, because now I can actually read through like all these heavy pieces and be able to comprehend what they're saying. And I think that would definitely help. Like those skills will definitely help in the long run. But yeah, um, I would just say keep exploring unique fields and try to ask questions, and really try to get to the nitty-gritty of some of the like the details of why things happen, right? Because when you ask those questions and you really try to understand concepts like that, that leads to even more questions. And that's the best part of researching, because you're trying to ask yourself, well, how do I understand, something that's so heavy yet so like it could also be very abstract, and you're trying to make it so that you're pushing forward like the new frontier of space policy. So it's definitely not easy, and I'm still figuring it out myself, but it's a really good journey to be a part of. And I can't wait to see what else is in the future of space policy and like space law. And then also when it comes to like international affairs, a lot of countries are very much involved with this. You can take Russia, China, India, and their space forces. There's even like a whole military branch on this, right? I don't even know if have you seen a show, Space Force? I think it's on Netflix, but I don't remember where. But it's really good. Um, and there's a lot of connection to this field, even from like the sci-fi lens, which I never really was extremely fascinated about. But it's interesting because I mean that's where the concept of like the space hotel came about, I think. And yeah, there's so much to this field. I can go on and on. But to answer your question, it is very interesting.
Yeah, that sounds amazing actually. To be able to, even from sophomore year, be so fascinated into such a specific, very interesting focus. And I'm personally a big sci-fi fan myself, so I kind of like imagining what could be in the future. And I think as time goes on, especially as space exploration gets more advanced, space
Yeah.
law is only going to get more and more important because, like you said, there's a lot of key players, like even like private organizations and like government run ones, and within like different countries. So I think it's definitely a very, very important field, and it's only going to get more relevant as in the future.
Yeah, no, the relevancy is so real, because like I
Yeah, definitely. Being able to actually make, like, because we will need it very soon, I'm sure. Being able to make stuff go forward, make these laws like actually set. I think that's very important. So, just getting to know a little bit more about your current involvement within space law. Um,
Mhm.
I know that you're on the National Space Policy Task Force, and a member of the space. Wait, You're a National Space Policy Task Force member of the Space Generation Advisory Council and the
Yes.
External Outreach Chair of the Student Astronomical Society. Could you talk a little bit more about your roles in these organizations or any other ones that you might want to bring up?
Yeah. So it's Space Gen. I brought this up earlier, but I mean, it's a phenomenal organization. And my role with them, it's been less than a year, but like my role with them has mostly been as a policy lead, right? So I basically edit people's work, talk about like the up and coming um like policy developments in the field because again there's so many changes happening, so we have to keep up with that information and we have to be able to research well into it and really delve into some very heavy topics. And so as a policy lead, I kind of help people write their pieces, I edit their pieces. I also like contribute to discussions. We have meetings, I think every other week, but it changes sometimes, depending on like which task force you're a part of. And the best part is it's incredibly big. Like the organization is huge. And um I think everyone is really well connected. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but you have people who are earlier in their career, and you also have people who are well established in their career. And I think that bandwidth is really incredible because you can meet so many people within this organization, and they're all just amazing. They're working on the next like biggest thing in the industry, and it's very cool to be able to connect with them and just ask questions and really engage in some really meaningful discussions. And they also have like a lot of conferences throughout like the year, and it's incredible how some like an organization like this is able to support so many initiatives. And yeah, it's been something that's really helped me because I can reach out to so many of these people and be like, hey, so you want to tell me about this? And can we talk about that? And they've been really supportive and responsive. And I think having that community again has been really important. It's not just about making it in your career, but it's also about creating like very authentic bonds and meaningful like connections with people. And with the Student Astronomical Society, that is at the University of Michigan, and I'm pretty sure almost every university has it, and if not, great initiative to start one, right? But yeah, what we do, like my specific role with them is the external outreach chair. So basically I recruit people to join the club on campus. And I'm pretty sure to give you a decent idea what we're looking at, right? When I was running for this position, because it was an actual like campaign simulation type of thing where you're running for public office. So we were running for this position. I was running for this position specifically, and I was the only person in the entire room who did not have that like STEM background, so to speak, because we had like, I mean, it made sense, but we had people who were studying astronomy and astrophysics and doing I think there's a couple people who are doing like aerospace engineering, right? And so to stand there and be like, hi guys, I am a poli-sci major and I'm also studying interdisciplinary astro, but I'd like to be this person, like the external outreach chair for your organization, was really interesting. And they were really welcoming, which is great. And I think I definitely bring like a unique, um, I guess, unique like perspective to all the research that they're up to because it's very again technical, very specific to like astrophysics and astronomy related things. And I'm not that person, which is fine, like even deciding to go down the interdisciplinary astro road has been quite a challenge for me because I'm thinking back and forth, like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I have it in me to be able to take like differential calculus and take physics in college because it's notoriously hard. And I don't know if I can do that to my GPA because I want to go to law school. Um, so I think making that decision of like choosing to go down the path and also looking in stepping out of my comfort zone and going to an organization like Student Astronomical Society has definitely made me like a stronger individual because I'm like, well, I can do this, like if you really put the effort and you have that community and you have a good mindset, I'm sure you can take on anything that is in your way. So yeah, like I decided that I was gonna step out of my comfort zone and give a speech and be like, hey, well, this is why I want this role. And I was lucky enough to get that position. And now I get to encourage more people to join the organization on campus. So I'm excited to see like who we recruit and how big the organization gets because very exciting stuff coming in the fall with because we have like festival on campus and we get to it's basically like an event where like everyone has like a poster board, you just recruit people for your club. So I'll be doing that and yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens with both of these organizations, but I'm also looking at growing in my career and looking at research opportunities and internships and things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot to be said about like the connection, like you said, between majors that might not actually be STEM and STEM fields. Kind of like art, like we did with the picture book, art and like technology, being able to inspire young children there. There's a lot to be said about, kind of pushing or like pushing out of, like you said, your zone and being able to see the connections there to make an even brighter future. And speaking of like challenges, like being able to, really be able to recognize that even when it might not be most comfortable to do so. Throughout your journey so far, has there been any challenges that you faced as a woman in, I know, like a male-dominated field like astronomy? And how have you tried to overcome these?
Yeah, I think this would be an interesting question for me 20 years from now. But to answer it to the best of my abilities, I think what I would say is some of that is internal too, because whenever um people like I guess you're faced with like, a bunch of rejections or you're faced with some type of failure in your journey towards this end goal of wanting to be, a space policy expert, whatever that goal is, that X goal is. And people are kind of hesitant towards that or they're questioning it or they're telling you, well, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure this is something you're going to pursue? People tend to change their majors. This is like maybe it's a silly thing, are you sure you want to wreck your GPA? Are you sure you want to take these risks? And I'm like, okay, well, I, like you start to internalize those things. Okay, well, should I do this? Like, I don't know if I kind of deserve to be in the space. I don't know if, no pun intended, but like, yeah, I was like, I don't know if I want to be in the space, right? Because I'm like, is this going to be something that I can truly make a career out of? And being like being first gen kind of put me in the perspective of like I want to make sure I choose a major that or like choose a path of studies that really supports me, no matter what happens. I want to be able to be financially independent and financially stable, and that's something my parents really like encouraged me to think about. And so justifying my like decisions of my major and also trying to figure out like my 4-year plan, so to speak, or like maybe like even thinking about how these like what I'm studying right now is going to impact my life 10 years from now has been like a conversation I've had with so many people, and some of these people have not been supportive, right? um and that's okay, but like you got to take things with a grain of salt. And you also have to remember that like not everyone's going to be on your side, not everyone's going to believe in you, and you don't always necessarily need to rely on that. I think at the end of the day, it comes to what's in here and what's in your heart. And you have to really power through the biases, you have to power through other people's opinions. And you have to power through the walls that you put up for yourself. And you're like, well, I can't do this. And that mindset is very, very important. So yeah, it goes back to surrounding yourself with people you actually trust and you actually value, and they will be honest with you. And again, you don't always have to take their opinion, um, like completely, but you you definitely need to look into what's best for you in the moment. And um what gives you the utmost happiness. And it sounds a little cringy, but like it genuinely is something that's true. Because if you truly are passionate about something, it doesn't matter how much, I can't speak for everyone, but like I know that if I'm truly passionate about something, I know that it's gonna work out. And as long as I'm, doing my best and I continue to like persevere through whatever challenges, even if it's like calc homework, right? Like I just gotta make it through. So yeah, I definitely would say that people's opinions are always going to be there, but you just have to keep going, keep swimming through all of that, um, and just take it all with a grain of salt because we're all in this giant rock called Earth, and nothing really matters.
Yeah, so kind of building off of that, if there was one piece of like career related advice that you could
Mhm.
give to your middle school self or, others, young students, just like you, what would it be?
Hmm. I would say keep asking questions. Um, like genuinely get curious about everything. Because again, you don't know how the dots are going to connect. I literally wrote my college essay on this, like how the dots are going to connect. And I think it was like a speech given at like a Stanford commencement. But literally ask questions about everything and try to learn as many things as possible, even if it's something that you don't like, right? Like give it a shot and really try to understand ways you can make those things fun, ways that you can connect with it. And maybe even again, like try to bridge different aspects of what you're interested in to find something that you truly like, right? It could be fashion and tech. It could be something that involves like helping others with like the public education system. There's so many different things that you can do. And I think really defining like your sense of purpose by asking questions is really important, because you learn more about yourself through that and you get to grow as an individual through that. And I think that's really would set you apart in like high school and college and your entire life going forward, because you start to think differently. You start to really step out of your comfort zone, and I think you start to attract people who are like that as well. And then you get a community of people who are like, why does this happen? Why is my computer, like built the way it's built? Like things like that. Just always have a curious mind and um like try to step out of your comfort zone by picking up random things, because you literally never know how it's going to bridge together. And if you're not interested in it, that's fine, but at least now you know because you tried. So that's my biggest advice, I think, to my middle school self.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly a great piece of advice because I definitely still use that to this day. And I think having that like innate curiosity can really lead you very far, especially in the science fields, but also everywhere, like no matter what you want to pursue, and also being able to find out what you're actually passionate about.
For sure. Perfect.
So, our last question is what advice would you give to young girls across the world that are listening to this or are looking to get involved in your field, combining public policy and STEM?
Okay, yeah, great question. I think to start off, it would just be going back to community again. I think really supporting each other and finding like friends that support your goals and your dreams and challenge you in ways that you never really thought before is really important. So yeah, like look out for each other, because again, it's you don't like I feel like when you have a community of people, especially of women, of empowered girls, it makes all the difference. And I think a great example of that is like Running Start, for example. It's not tech related, it's not STEM related, but it's encouraging women to run for office. And I was able to find a great community of women who empower each other every day.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Having that community is super important, and being able to succeed in no matter what field you're going into. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, and I hope you have a
Yeah,
great
thanks
day.
for having me.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.